Controversy brewing in Chicago involving the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE. The agency is planning to launch an academy that will train civilians in defensive tactics, firearms, familiarization, and targeted arrests. It's supposed to help people better understand the agency, but it's sparking fears among immigration advocates that it's a step towards vigilantism. The academy is supposed to begin in September.
Joining us now with more is 33rd Ward Alderman Rossana Rodriguez. Good evening. Thanks for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You bet. ICE says this is about protecting the community from threats. They mentioned the recent arrest of an alleged terrorist. Any thought at all of partnering with immigration officials?
We don't really believe anything that ICE says. I want to, first of all, make it really clear that Chicago is a sanctuary city because of the incredible amount of work that immigrant rights activists have done in this city. We have had to protect each other from ICE, particularly right now under the administration of President Donald Trump. We have seen how the racist attacks have been so prevalent. So when we saw the language that there was in that letter that was circulated from ICE to residents of Illinois, inviting them to join the academy, all the language points out to a vigilante training, and we are not going to stand by while something like that happens. So we are writing a letter to the director of ICE. We want to ask them to stop that training from happening, and we're also going to introduce a resolution to City Council to condemn those efforts.
Alderwoman, one of the things you ran on, one of the issues was to make Chicago a real sanctuary city and to protect the immigrants, especially in your neighborhood of Albany Park. So what would this training academy actually do for your constituents?
So one of the problem is that there's very little clarity around what is it that they're trying to achieve. They are saying that they are trying to help people gain a better understanding of what is the role of ICE and what is the work that agents do. Well, what ICE agents do is try to deport people. That is what they do. And when you talk about familiarizing the public with firearms and with targeted arrests, what we fear is that they will be training neighbors to be looking out for undocumented neighbors and assist in their arrest and deportation. And we're not going to have that in Chicago. We are doing exactly the opposite. We're trying to build solidarity and make sure that we are protecting one another. So that kind of program is not accepted here.
You mentioned protecting one another. What more are you pushing for to strengthen Chicago's sanctuary city laws?
So recently, the Welcoming City Ordinance was strengthened a little bit more. Now we're going to have a better understanding of times when ICE is asking for collaboration from CPD. For example, we're going to be able to look at those numbers. We definitely need to do away with the gang database. That is still a big fight that we have in front of us. We all know that the gang database is one of the loopholes that can allow police to collaborate with ICE if they have reasonable suspicion that a person is gang affiliated. But we also know that anybody can be put into the gang database by any officer for any reason. So it's been one of the biggest fights that we have had to deal with in order to be able to close those loopholes.
Alderwoman, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. It's hit the Latinx community particularly hard, health-wise and in other areas as well. When it comes to relief for folks in your neighborhood and undocumented immigrants, what is available? I know that you did ask the governor to lift the ban on rent, and he said he couldn't do that because that was not under his jurisdiction. How are residents of your ward surviving this?
Well, afterwards, he did say that it would be possible, but then he said that there would be too little time. So we are actually in a very weird situation right now where we all know that is possible, but it's not being done. We are continuing to fight to make sure that we get there, that we get to the point where the ban can be lifted. We are relying mostly on each other. We know that there was housing assistance that was put forward by the city. There was a limited amount of grants, like 2,000, and there was like 63,000 people that applied. It's a lot. Right now, we are relying on each other. There's a lot of mutual aid funds that have been created. People come to my office all the time, every day. Today, we had several women that came to my office trying to get diapers. So, formula for their babies. We have been doing pop-up pantries. We have churches that are doing that work. We have several different networks, and we're just trying to keep each other safe. The city has decided that any services and any resources that the city puts forward are going to be made available to undocumented people. The thing is that there's not enough resources.
Yeah. Well, listen.
And there's nothing dedicated exclusively to undocumented people, right? So they are not they're not able to get unemployment benefits and a lot of other things. So a lot of people are suffering a lot, and we need to take care of them.
Well, we wish you luck, Alderwoman Rossana Rodriguez. Be safe and be well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good night.